This video I'm about to make could cause me to lose my job. What I'm about to say is a major bombshell shift in our industry that I found out this past Tuesday. And I may not reveal the names of the people involved or the companies involved, because I got to be careful on what I say on YouTube. And I definitely don't want them coming after me because of what I'm going to say, but I feel like I gotta say it. And this is really meant for my customers or anybody in the beauty industry. And if you've been working in the beauty industry for quite a while, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So if you want to hear my story, keep watching. But I'm going to drop some really, really major news that is potentially devastating, not only to the people involved, but the industry as a whole. So before I go in and announce what happened, I want to just tell you a little bit of backstory of how this beauty industry works. So if you don't already know, I've been selling beauty supplies to salons. So, and I've been doing this for the past 30 plus years. I started in 1994. I started working for a private beauty distributor. I didn't know anything about the business, and I kind of got into it totally by accident. My brother-in-law actually used to do what I do, and he has since passed on, but at the time, I was struggling. You know, I have a 4-year college degree. I went to the University of South Florida, got my degree in, it's called the BS of marketing or BS of business. It really is BS. But, you know, I did take professional selling as one of my courses, but it was a general marketing degree, which basically is about as good as basket weaving. So, in my previous girlfriend that I met in college, we were living together at the time, and we were working in Orlando. My first job out of college was working for Piccadilly Cafeterias, and she got a job at Walgreens as assistant manager. So I was assistant manager at Piccadilly, and she was assistant manager with Walgreens. Anyway, after about 6 months or so of that, we both hated our jobs, and because her family was in Jacksonville, mine was in Tampa, but she wanted to go back home, we both quit our jobs and moved back here. Well, and she also had a degree as well. I think it was business. It was a business degree also. I can't remember what her focus was, but it was pretty useless as well. But anyway, she got lucky, and this was the time when AT&T Universal Card services came on board. This was their first entry into the credit card, and so she interviewed, and they were hiring, you know, with great benefits, and she was actually on the phone. It wasn't I wouldn't say a great job, but anyway, she got hired. She passed the test because you had to take a test to see if you qualify. Stupid me, I failed. I couldn't even take a test, even though I did good in college. I couldn't pass that test. So I struggled for years working as a temp, and eventually I worked for another division of AT&T called American Transtech, and that was a company that did a lot of inbound and outbound telemarketing services, and they also had a mutual fund management company. And so I worked in a lot of different positions. You know, here I am, a college degree. I'm working in an admin position under people that probably didn't have a degree, or that maybe did, but they were in sales. So I was sales support. And I did that for a while, and then finally I worked in the mutual funds division, working under somebody that, again, did not have a college degree, but she's been there a long time, and she was my boss, and I was her assistant. Well, I was able to work there for a while and get get my experience, and I finally got hired on because, you know, all this time I'm making temp labor wages, no benefits. And I finally get hired on, and then the boss that hired me, he said, "I'm sorry to say, we have to retract that because our company was bought out, and he lost his job, and of course I never got the job that I was promised." And so I struggled from then on, and I was there for a little while longer until my brother-in-law actually started working at Circuit City at the time, and you know, he was selling VCRs and TVs and crap like that. And back then it was a good business, and it was all commission sales. And he thought that I would be good at it. Now, how he thought that, I don't know, because I've always been an introvert. I grew up as an introvert, and for most of my life I was an introvert. So anyway, I get in there, and he just told me, he said, "This is what you do. You just got to be, you know, always on the floor. You got to be, you know, aggressive." And so I did that, and I rose to the top. I was always up there. I wasn't the number one rep, but I was always at the top, and I made some good money. And then somebody lured me away from there and to work for Montgomery Ward, and they had another similar deal, and that was terrible. I didn't do that for very long, and then my brother-in-law actually started selling beauty supplies and working the territory that I work now. And I remember we were walking down the beach with our wives, and at the time I was not happy with what I was doing because I ended up selling cruises, and that was such a up and down business. Like one minute I'm making great money, and then when somebody cancels, you know, you lose that commission that you made the previous month. So I hated that. But anyway, he ended up having back surgery. His lower back was killing him. He had back surgery, and then he actually had to move into the office, and he got another position inside the company that we represented. And then he said, "Hey, my position's open." And I'm like, "No, what do you mean? You mean sell beauty supplies?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not interested." My sister-in-law that actually had the job before him, she tried to get me to do it, and it just didn't sound like anything I wanted to do. But you know, he said, I promise you, he said, I took it from where she had it, and I really built it up. And he said, "You're going to definitely make more money than you're making, and more money than you've ever made." And so we went back to the house, and he actually showed me figures, and back then I was like, "Oh wow, that sounds good." So he called his boss, and his boss, he said, "You're as good as hired." And then he said, "You just got to go through the formality of meeting him and kind of like doing an informal interview." And I did that, and of course he hired me. And initially he paid me like a little bit of a salary until my commissions were earning me more than what I was making. Because back then, and even now, how we make our money is 100% commission. They don't pay us for any of our expenses. We don't get a car allowance. We don't have any benefits. We're like our own independent business. Although it's not our business, even though they tell us it is. It's not. And I've learned that over the years. When somebody else controls you, you don't own anything. And basically, but it was a good business for me to get into. I think I was on the little salary thing for like maybe 2 weeks, maybe no more than a month, and then I was just all on commission. And believe me, I was scared to death when I first did that. It was just very awkward for me to deal with women, and I've never had to deal with women quite like this before, especially talking about beauty stuff. But and of course when he was dealing with them, and he took me around for the first couple of weeks through his territory, and just watching him and him rattling stuff off, it all sounded Greek and foreign to me, and I'm like, oh, I can't do this. And then finding these salons, I mean, he was driving all over in rural areas, like in the Lake City area and all the little towns in between. And half the time I was getting lost because I couldn't remember where to go. And you would drive along for so long, and you feel like, hey, did I miss my turn? Did I miss my... So anyway, so I did that, and I did that for quite a long time, from 94 until the year 2000. And stay with me, because this story, the reason why I'm telling you all this, because it really will give you some backstory as to why what I'm going to tell you is such a big, significant thing. So in the year 2000, you know, the company that I was working for was doing some crazy things. Like, they started paying us a higher commission. Like, if we reached a certain goal or threshold, and we sold more than we would normally do, we could make an extra 2 or 3% on top of what we already made, and that was retroactive for the whole month. And so we were making more money than we ever have. And so there was a reason behind that, because what actually ended up happening after, you know, I would ask them, hey, are you planning on selling? Are you selling? No, we're not selling. They sold. They sold the company, and let me just tell you, they sold it at a time when I was just getting comfortable doing this job, and I was getting married to my second wife, who is my current wife now. And it was, you know, at a time when, you know, things were going good. I just moved into an expensive new home. At least at that time, it was expensive to me, because I never had to pay that much money for a home before, ever in my life. And then, you know, my boss actually played at my wedding, and it was in St. Augustine for the Nights of the Lights festival that they do every November, you know, for the Christmas holidays. And I remember they were celebrating the sale of the company after the wedding. And I couldn't help but think, you know, am I going to be able to do, I mean, what's my life going to be like? What's the job going to be like when this new company takes over? And are they going to change everything? Well, they did. This is how it went. So imagine we were all motivated by sales. We were all motivated by the ability to make more money the more and harder that we worked. So, you know, regular jobs, if you're somebody that has a salary job, you know that you have to really work hard and hope that your boss is going to give you that raise that you're looking for. Or you have to go in and ask and pray that he values you, or she values you enough to give you a raise. And usually it's just a teeny tiny bit. Well, with our job, the way it worked is, the harder we worked, the smarter we worked. If we can raise our sales, we can make more money. We can write our own paycheck. Well, the problem with that is, you know, even though you grow your business, sometimes you lose it in other ways. You know, it's never, just because you get new business and you get people and new products, doesn't mean they're always going to stay with that. So it's not like you grow it and you stay there. It's like you grow it, you lose some. You grow it, you lose some. You grow it, you lose some. You just hope that you stay on the positive side through the whole thing. Well, what happened was, a major corporation bought our company after them saying that they were never going to sell. Well, they did, and they sold to a brand that we had already been representing before, and it was a major company, and I'm not even going to say the name, but you can look it up. You can look up who is like the top beauty brands in the industry. And this company has been around for 100 years. I mean, seems like. Maybe it is. And so they called us all into a meeting, and we met in this auditorium. And they told us, and this company has beauty stores, and our distributorship did have some stores, and of course they acquired those and brought them into the fold. But they told us that, you know, we're all one big happy family now. So they blended us in with their existing salespeople, and, you know, some of us went with another brand under their umbrella, and then I stayed with another brand under their umbrella. And unfortunately, they actually wanted me to be with the higher end brand, and I declined stupidly, because now I know what I didn't know. And basically, they basically told everybody, hey, sales don't matter anymore. So they put us all on salary, and they based their salary on what we did. And they were saying, drive everybody into the stores, we're all one big happy family. Well, after that first year, they didn't like how it all went. And we knew it. When you remove the motivation to really produce, which was higher commissions, higher earning potential, sales are going to decline. And when you start driving people into the stores, it's hard to relate those sales to you if you didn't have anything to do with it. Or maybe you did and you don't get credit for it. So they changed it, and then it came to a point where, I couldn't keep my sales up to a certain degree, and so they tried to get rid of the people that were with our company, and they were basically kind of forced me out. I either was going to get fired, or my manager suggested maybe I should just leave. And I probably shouldn't have even listened to him, because I don't know if he had ulterior motives, and some part of me thinks he did. But I didn't want to stick around, so I left. And that's when the times really got tough. And I ended up going with somebody. I started my own distributorship, and trying to do something like this on your own, for one, to get brands that are worth a damn, is very difficult, and I learned that. And trying to do it all out of your garage is almost next to impossible. Trying doing everything, but I did it for a while, and then one of the guys that was actually trying to lure me to work for him for so many years finally did. He offered me a good salary with a vehicle and everything, but that was a nightmare. And that's a whole nother story. I don't want to really go into that, but before I joined with him, I heard that the people that were that had once worked with the previous company that I started with, he was basically had started up this other operation. Now we're talking years later, so there's quite a lot of time that went through all of this, and I had contact. I heard about them. I heard that they had started up, but they weren't in Florida at the time, and I said, hey, have you thought about starting up in Florida? And he says, well, I feel like we were lucky back then. Things are different now, and they don't really have the the brands that they say that they can really get going with. So they said, check back with them in about a year. So after working for almost a year with this nightmare person that had unrealistic expectations of what this new business was going to be about, they found out that I was talking to this other company, and basically fired me. And once I had talked to this company who I'm with now, they they were secretly putting everything together, and then when I got fired, I called the new owner, and he said, I told him, I said, well, he just fired me on the spot. And I was actually in a salon. I just sold her products that I represented from this brand, and he said, okay, let's go. You're on board. So I was the guy that started with the new company that I'm with now, and I'll just say the Salon Center. And that's how I got started. And keep in mind, I had 0 customers with the Salon Center, and I had basically just a few brands, and none of them were really established brands. Nothing like we have now. I think I had Brusque at the time. Milkshake was brand new, and some other odds and ends. Mastay was the one that I had with both companies. And they're the ones that actually did me in. And I don't even know if they're in business anymore, but that was another nightmare company. And, or nightmare experience, I should say. But he, that was a tough time. I basically got, I want to say like $500 a week for the first couple of months, and then thereafter it was all commission. And they did start me off at a really high commission just to help get me going. And then as time went on, they kept lowering the commission to the level where we were at, where we're at now. And so this is how the business goes. So it's so volatile. And that's the reason why I told this part of the story, because you spend all your time trying to build these brands, and then either your distributorship gets bought out, or a brand gets bought out, or gets acquired by a bigger brand, and then they just change everything, and it really is disheartening. Now, fast forward to today. So, or let's just fast forward to when I started this with the salon center. So we started getting more and more brands, and in the very beginning we didn't have hardly any decent brands at all. But then we acquired Brazilian Blowout, and Brazilian Blowout was our #1 brand for almost 15 years. So everything was great for the longest time. And then we started bringing up more brands, and we would win some, and then some brands that we brought on, they weren't happy with our performance for whatever reason, or we weren't happy with them, and we just couldn't do anything with them. So this is the way the industry is. You get brands, you try your best to promote them, to see if what you've got is a good brand, to see if it sticks, and then if it doesn't, you get rid of them, or they get rid of you, one or the other. It's just the way it is. And then very seldom do you get a home run product. Now, this is the big bombshell that's happened. So about 8 or 9 years ago, I want to say more like 8 years, we get this brand, and I'm not even going to mention this brand, because if you've followed me any time, you've seen videos that I've posted about this particular brand. And what I want to say is, I put my heart and soul, when I really believe in a brand, I really put my heart and soul in this. And the thing that I want people to understand is, when you're in the beauty business as a commission rep, you're not like a used car salesman. Like, we have to tell the truth whether we want to or not. At least good reps will. I'm sure there's reps out there that don't have good ethics, and I don't think there's that many of them, but there's probably some. But anyway, because we see people every couple weeks or monthly, or you see them on a regular basis, we don't go in trying to sell them something that we don't believe in, that we don't believe that works. We don't make a lot of money on selling just one thing. It's the repeat. It's like we're building little business foundations as we sell products in, and that's one of the reasons why hair color and chemical services are so important, because that solidifies us in the back room. The chemicals are what hairdressers are going to use no matter what. Like, everybody's doing hair color, and for the longest time, most of our clients were doing smoothing treatments because they've been so popular. Now the shift in that has been different in the last few years, because whereas before we didn't have a lot of styling products that caused or that help with frizz or gave hair shine or smoothness or straightening, now there's retail products that do that. And so it's not as critical as it once was, although it's still a thing that people love to get, but probably not as much as it used to be. And some of it has to do with the fact that, there's been a lot more news out there about the chemicals that are in these products. And so that's another reason why there's been a shift. But this is not the shift I'm talking about. The big shift is the brand that I put my heart and soul in, and I was actually the guy that, I was the only one that really understood what they were about. And when the product first hit our warehouse, it just sat there. We weren't doing that great with it. But I started making videos with one of their educators, and we would do live demos, not live, but I would film the demos. This is before TikTok and Instagram were a thing. I was making videos long before all of that, and long before they were doing it. And so I remember the first year, I was like, they were basically telling me that I was probably the #1 selling sales rep for this brand worldwide, which was a great feeling because I'd never been #1 at anything for that big, especially worldwide. Now, years later, I wasn't, because there's markets that are so much bigger than mine, and and there's certain areas that have more dollars that can spend more money on these products. But I was still always, I would say I'm always in the top 10. Maybe I dropped out of the top 10 one time, but I was always up there. For the longest time, I was #1. And then when other people in our company started getting on board with it, and I'm talking years later, then they started to be ratcheting up. And of course, our #1 rep, she stayed at the top for most of that time. She just does the sheer numbers because she works the South Florida market. But the thing that really upsets me about what's happened is a major company, whom I've already mentioned, who bought us originally, bought this brand. And this is a devastating blow to not only my business, but it could potentially be a blow to a lot of other businesses. And what they've been doing, on the ramp up to this, I always figured that they were going to sell. I just didn't know when, and I really didn't want it to happen this soon. But when you're a hairdresser and you spend your time recommending hair products to your customers, you're taking your time, your precious time in the salon to do that, and you want to make sure you recommend the right products for the client for what they're looking for, and you want that product to perform. And so when they do that, just keep in mind, if you're a customer watching this, understand that when you don't buy your professional beauty products from your stylist, you're hurting them. You're hurting them, you're hurting everybody down the line that supports that hairdresser, including me. But more importantly, hairdressers, they need to sell retail to help offset the rising cost of expenses to be actually in business as a hairdresser. And a lot of them are independent, they're doing their own thing. And, you just don't realize, it seems like, they charge a lot of money and they're just putting it all in their pocket, but you just have no idea how expensive everything is. Not only is it expensive for the place where they have to do business at, but all the supplies that they use. And you got to remember, like, sometimes they do have downtime too, and times where you're doing things in the salon that don't pay them anything. And I know there's a lot of other businesses that are like that. So if you ever wonder why sometimes things get so expensive, especially, like, let's just use an example, like your auto mechanic. Auto mechanics, they don't get paid when they're not working on a vehicle. So that's one of the reasons why the prices are so high. The dealership or the place that hires the mechanics, they have to keep up their overhead, so they get a big cut of what you're paying them, and then the mechanic, unfortunately, gets the smaller cut. And like I said, when they're not working, they're not getting paid. And the same goes for our industry. When I don't sell something, I don't get paid. I can do all this fun stuff, like I make tons of videos to help promote my brand, and that's one of the reasons why I started YouTube. I started my YouTube channel in 2012, mainly for a place to house videos that I needed to, record videos of my classes, my shows, or products, or, some of my educators that were doing education, I would record that, because I didn't want that information to just vanish after we did a class, and traditionally that's what happens. And so I would always record, and nobody asked me to do this. I just did it on my own. And when I first started with this company, we didn't even have a website. We didn't have a catalog. We just had this little flyer, little booklet. It was called the Pocket Promo, and that's all I had. And that's one of the reasons why I actually created a website for a company in the very beginning, because people kept asking me, "What's your website?" We didn't have one, it made me feel like we weren't a real company or a legit company, because if you don't have a website, you don't have a catalog, what the heck are you doing? How do people find out more about you? How do they look at products? How do they do their research? And, that's one of the reasons why I did the videos, is because if I record them and say it was a class on hair color for a particular brand, I can always share that video with a potential customer that's interested in potentially getting into that color brand, and they can check it out. And every other rep didn't have that ability. And oddly enough, I've been doing this with this company for, let's see, what is it now? This is over 15 years now. And not one other rep has done what I do. I don't understand. To me, it's so important. But I digress now. Back to the original thing. So this brand, you got to understand, not only do I put my heart and soul in it and spend time making videos and promoting the brand, and then I was, at the time when the TikTok and the Instagram thing was a thing, I was making videos. Sometimes I would do 2 to 3 videos a day, and I did it for over a year. I posted like crazy, and a lot of it was sharing their own content, and they were okay with it. They actually encouraged me to do it, but that all was a lot of work and a lot of effort to just have the rug pulled out from under you, because that's what happened. And the reason why I say that, even though it's a different owner, this owner is nobody that we deal with now. This is the previous owner that bought us before, that controls a lot of stores. And, and this is the other thing, this particular brand is all over retail. It's available online. It's available directly online, meaning their own website. It's on Amazon. It's in Sephora, Ulta's. They actually put it in our direct competitor store. Our competitors, not the salespeople, but the stores that represent another brand or other brands, and they put it in their stores to compete against us, because they say we can't cover everybody. Well, that didn't sit well with us, and they said, "Oh, it's going to be advantageous to you because we're going to send you leads from those people." Well, this is what happens when you're independent studios, and you got these stores all around, and where they would have to used to have to get it from me. Guess what? They're going into those stores to buy the product because it's a quick, easy visit. And if they're already buying from those stores, guess what? I'm out. I'm going to lose the sales. And so my sales started going down, as well as other reps. And but oddly enough, the sales started going back up because the brand was growing by leaps and bounds. It's been the most popular retail brand that I can ever remember. I mean, I sold some really hot brands over the years, but none quite like this one. And the way they marketed, they did, Instagram, TikTok. They're number one on TikTok, the number one beauty brand on TikTok. They were on YouTube, although my YouTube channel was like more than double theirs. And basically my YouTube channel got to where it is because of the success of one of their videos that I redid and posted, and it went viral. And several videos did that based on this brand. So I just feel like I put in all that effort over the years, and I honestly don't know what the solution's going to be. I don't really want to. The reason why I'm not mentioning the brand, I don't really know what's going to happen. But based on the MO of this company, what they've done in the past, and I'm not talking about just one time, I'm talking about multiple times, it's not good. It's not good for me. It's not going to be good for probably most of the customers that, and this is the thing, it's not just hurting me, but it's been a bad thing for all the hairdressers that are carrying this brand, because the thing that really hurts them is they spent all their time promoting the brand, and then the company goes and sells against them online and everywhere else, and then this is what happens. The hairdressers have a client sitting in the chair, and they show them and tell them about a product, maybe even use it in their own hair, rather than buy it from the hairdresser. They're sitting there in their chair on Amazon trying to place that order. I mean, that is just a slap in the face. That's being disrespectful to your stylist. It's not nice. And if you've done it, I highly recommend you go to your stylist and just ask them for it. And and if you're worried about whether you're going to get a better price on Amazon, chances are you won't. Because what these manufacturers have done, the reason why, how it was explained to me why these major manufacturers put it on Amazon is to protect the brand. Because there's some kind of agreement that if you, as a manufacturer, if you have a store on Amazon, that there's an agreement where nobody else can come on and sell that very same product and undercut what the suggested retail price is. So the only person that can change that pricing is the manufacturer. And most manufacturers won't sell it for less on Amazon because that undercuts their own website. And also their distribution, because they've got distributors and salespeople out there in the field that are trying to represent them as well. So the bombshell has dropped. Even though things are going great in our country, this is actually July 4th. This is celebration of Independence Day. And in one sense, I feel like a bit of relief. I feel like maybe God is trying to tell me something. Maybe it's time to rethink things. Now, if you're one of my customers and watching this, I just want to reassure you, I'm trying to stay in the game. But this is going to be a major hit. And like I said, I don't know what really is going to happen. We haven't heard an official announcement from the major company that bought us or the previous owner of the brand. We just heard the news. And so I was told that business is as usual, but it's not business as usual, because once I know that some other brand is going to get this brand, I'm no longer going to be doing any more classes or education. I've already got 2 scheduled this month, and I'm probably going to stick with those because, that was promised to them. I may not even show up for it because there's no point in me being there. And I used to do the videos and everything for the classes. And if you've followed me on my YouTube channel, you'll notice that I have a whole lot less videos available to watch, because basically I took all my videos down concerning this, except for a few. And why I kept those few is because it's still helping my my channel. Other than that, eventually I may just take them all down. And even if it sacrifices earning potential with my AdSense, I may just still do it. But if you've been following me for a little bit, I've actually been in the process of trying to change my YouTube channel. I want to really focus on, people over 40. I want to help people, start a YouTube channel, help them with all the different tech aspects of doing this. selling. You know, I have a lot of knowledge in selling and actually with tech, because I've utilized tech over the years to not only create my websites, my apps, and I use technology to do a lot of things to connect with my customers or to create videos. And so if you're interested in that sort of thing, please be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me. Just know that my channel is going to be a bit of a variety for a little bit until I can really figure out what is the interest of my customers, where I should go. I've got to do something that I really believe in, that really inspires me, that really keeps me passionate about what I'm doing, because I don't want to just do anything. And this is the challenge that I'm going to be facing. You know, I do know our distributor is, you know, they've got things in place. We got some new brands coming. I can't tell you how unoptimistic I feel right now about any new brand even matching up to this brand that has been purchased or that was sold. And I'm sorry if I'm being cryptic about who it is, because I want to make sure that, you know, this video stays up, and I may have to take this video down. So be sure to watch this before I take it down. I should have said this in the very beginning, but and the reason why I say I'm not optimistic, I want to be hopeful, but no other brand has the ability or has proven the ability to market quite like this brand has. I've never had a brand that really took off like this, that had some guts to it, that actually performed as advertised. You know, and I'm just praying that a line comes along that actually does this. And I'm trying to appeal to my customers. You know, if you're one of my customers that, let me get a little closer shot. If you're one of my customers that appreciated what I had to offer, you know, my over 30 years experience, and you're not one that wants to go to the store and avoid dealing with a rep, then please consider buying one of my brands or buying multiple brands of mine, especially hair color. Now, I've got two really good brands of hair color, that being Aloxi and also Oligo. Those are my two big brands that I'm focused on right now, and for one good reason. It's because they're really performing. They're really taking off. And both the Oligo is a Canadian brand, and then Aloxi is American brand. And we were just told at our last sales meeting that we're doing so well as a company, as a distributorship for selling the new Aloxi Luminix permanent hair color, that we are the #1 distributor in their entire country. And it's because, and he says, finally, it's because that he says we are focusing on what works, and we're getting great success. It's one thing being able to sell it out there, but it's when they give us the feedback that they love it and they're reordering, they're asking, like, you know, what else do you have? Those are great signs. And in order for me to maintain staying in this business, you know, you don't understand when you have a big brand get pulled out from under you like this. It's devastating monetarily. And not only did it happen with this brand, but our other big brand has been playing games, and our relationship has not been great. And so our business is not doing that great with them either. So it's like two brands that are giving us like a 1-2 punch, you know, and I don't want to just get knocked down. I want to get back up and fight, but I've got to have something to fight with. And I need people to stick with me. You know, if you want me to stay around, and I just had one of my customers, when I told her the news, she thought I was saying that I was going to be going bye-bye. And she said, that's the last thing I want to happen, because she values in what I bring to the table. You know, if you're a stylist, and whether you're in my area or you're in some other area, do not be that person that thinks that going to the store just to save money on shipping is the way to go. You're not really seeing the big picture. You're not really thinking smart, because what my customers see the value in that I bring over 30 years experience that they can't get from a store. They can't get online, because the problem is when you try to search for something that you don't even know what you're searching for online. You know, I'm talking mainly YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, doesn't matter. You don't even know what you're searching for ahead of time, and then you got all kinds of different random information that really is confusing, where I can really pinpoint, you know, what your problem is and give you a solution that I feel is in your best interest, at least from what I provide. Now, sometimes I don't have a solution. Sometimes I don't have that product that you may need, and so I'll let you know then. But there's no reason why you should not be using one of my color brands, because they're both great brands. You know, one may appeal more toward independent booth renters or studio people or suites, and the other one may appeal more toward a bigger commission type salon. And it also appeals to independents as well, because I have independents that are using that brand. They love it. And so I'm appealing to my people that know me. You know, if you're not already doing business with me, think about it. If you want honest advice, and if you want somebody that cares about their business and how I treat people, I'm available to my customers all the time. I mean, just ask them. When they text me or call me, I answer the phone. Whether it's a holiday or weekend or whatever. Of course, my wife doesn't like that. But I tell her, I said, you know, they're the ones that are actually paying for this house, paying for or putting food on our table. You know, I know where it's not my company that pays me money, it's my customers that pay me the money. So my company is just the middleman. And so I have more loyalty to my customers than anybody else. So this video has gone on long enough. I apologize for such a long video, but I just feel like I had to tell the story. I had to tell you, to give you more backstory, because otherwise it wouldn't even be that big of an impact. But I know the big question is, who the hell is this company that you're talking about? I don't want to put it on video because I'm afraid that the algorithm will put it in front of the wrong people. So if you want to know, comment. Ask me in the comments below and I'll answer. But otherwise, I don't really want to say it on the video. And I hope I don't have to take this video down, but it was something that had to be said. So I thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. And if you watched all the way through this video, man, thank you so much. And if you know somebody that this could help, or maybe they might be entertained by it, I don't know, please share it and maybe save it for later, because someday we're going to probably look back on this. And I hope, I pray that it's better than what I think it's going to be. But I don't feel that optimistic about it, just based on my past experience, the history with the previous company that bought this brand. I just know them all too well. So have a blessed day, and again, I thank you for watching. Take care. Bye.